What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and let me be the first to officially and formally wish you and yours a very happy Victory Polo Monday. It is Monday, December 23rd, 2024, Christmas Eve's Eve, and the Dallas Cowboys were victorious yesterday, which means today, the day after, it just so happens to be a Monday, but it can be a Tuesday or a Saturday or a Friday or a Sunday or whatever the case may be. Today is Victory Polo Monday, so you have a polo, a t-shirt. I almost missed it when I went to grab it. Sunglasses, paint your fingernails, paint your toenails, flip-flops, I don't care. As long as you have a Dallas Cowboys song in your heart, you are participating in Victory Polo Monday. I do also want to wish you and yours a very happy, early, Merry Christmas, a very happy, early New Year as well. In case I don't see you, it's just, it's that kind of time. You know what I mean? You want to make sure you tell the people you love Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, in case you don't see them, and you're among the people that I love. And so I just wanted to make sure that that I got that in. But today is Monday, December 23rd, 2024. The Dallas Cowboys did win yesterday. We are here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, where you should subscribe, por favor, because you get access to me all the time talking all things Dallas Cowboys. If you want more access to me, by the way, you can follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. Email is rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. You can leave a comment down below if you'd like to do that as well. And down below, you can find the links in the description to all of my social channels to make it nice and easy for you. It's the day after a Dallas Cowboys game happens to just be a win, which means we're here for our Day After Thoughts series. I do this after every single Dallas Cowboys game, one day after the fact, to kind of go over how we feel. It's always important to let time pass by so we don't overreact or underreact, I think, is an important takeaway as well. But we want to make sure that we, have the proper takeaway relative to things that happened and the context of it all, et cetera, et cetera. I do write about this as well, so you can check out the article version on Monday afternoon/evening at bloggingtheboys.com. Not quite out at the time that I'm shooting this for you, but it should be out before Monday Night Football kicks off at least. We are, by the way, rooting for the New Orleans Saints. Now, with the Dallas Cowboys officially eliminated from the playoffs, and maybe you were already rooting for a team tank. I get that a lot of people obviously were, but there's no reason to root for playoff-related things because they're impossible now. So we want the New Orleans Saints to win this game, although obviously we, if you're rooting for the tank, need the Dallas Cowboys to lose their games, and that isn't happening. The Cowboys are winners of 4 of their last 5. Let's get to my day after thoughts. As mentioned, the article comes out a little bit later on Monday at bloggingtheboys.com, so you're seeing the in the oven version of it. We're turning on the light, you know what I'm saying? Like when you got the lasagna in, you look like, oh, looks, the cheese is starting to bubble up a little bit. That's kind of what this looks like. Anyway, you can see the headline for me here is, it is okay to be happy about the wins. And I want to start there. That is my first thought. It is totally fine to enjoy the recent Dallas Cowboys wins. Let me close this ad so it doesn't look strange behind me. First of all, actually, before I even get to that point, let me say something. You can do whatever you want. All right. You can be a fan however you want. There are no rules. There is no you have to. There is no you must. There is no you're wrong if you're not. You can fan however you want to. That is a core principle belief of mine as a fan, as a content creator, as somebody who has, an opportunity to talk about the team that we all love. I don't think that how you approach this is wrong. If you want to see the Cowboys win, if you want to see them lose, whatever, we're all adult enough to understand that losing is helpful relative to draft position. We're all also adult and mature enough, I would hope, to be able to say to one another, well, they don't want to quit. And we're also, I think emotional enough to say it's fun when they win, right? I don't want to say that you have to tell me that you were excited when DaRon Bland forced that fumble at the end of Sunday night's game, but I would assume that you were. I would assume on some level, even if you were captain of Team Tank, right? I just have a hard time believing that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's impossible, but I have a hard time believing that any Dallas Cowboys fan saw DaRon Bland rip that ball away from Rachaad White, forks up, by the way. And I have a very difficult time believing that any Dallas Cowboys fan saw that happen and went, damn it. I wanted to lose this game. I just almost startled Bear and Honey. So it's my bad, guys. Maybe you did. And you're not wrong if you did. But I'm I'm planting my flag, not at midfield in Tucson like the Sun Devils did, but I'm planting my flag in saying that I am enjoying this. Right? Do I recognize that it's better for the Cowboys draft position to tank? Totally. And I'm going to make a little bit of an argument, but it's not an argument to try to sell you. It's not an argument to try to sway you. It's just really a statement of how I have evaluated the situation. I think that it is very valuable for players like Maris Liufau, players like Nick Vigil, players like Amani Oruwariye, for players like that to get this experience. I don't know who of them is going to be on this team in the future, but even if we, climb up the roster, so to speak, to the players like Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. And I talked about this in my postgame show, which you could have watched live in the Bleacher Report app. You obviously can watch it here on the YouTube channel as well. The way CeeDee Lamb is playing is so impressive. And I think a lot of people were out on him, not wanting to get rid of him by any stretch, but I think a lot of people were disappointed in, call it body language, whatever you want, early on in the season. And now I think we have fully 180'd from that, right? I think now we look at this, we say, man, CeeDee Lamb is a dude. CeeDee Lamb is a dog, right? Like all these wonderful things because he's playing that way. And that doesn't happen if not for the trying to win and the succeeding at winning, obviously, in what the Cowboys have done as of late. I mean, I mentioned Amani Oruwariye, they are a lapse in judgment away from having won 5 games in a row from a point where they were 3-7. And that isn't to say, oh, they're amazing or they're awesome or whatever. It's just to say what they're doing is pretty cool in the vacuum that we're looking at and evaluating it in. And now that vacuum is as a team officially and mathematically eliminated from postseason contention. And now, it's swept under the rug in terms of what the NFL cares about. In case you missed it, earlier on Monday about lunchtime, it was announced by the NFL that they were flexing Sunday's Cowboys-Eagles game to earlier in the day. So the game was originally scheduled to be an afternoon kick, 3:25 Central Standard Time. It will now kick off at noon Central Standard Time. And the reason is that the Cowboys are mathematically eliminated and the Eagles are pretty firmly entrenched in the 2 seed in the NFC. So there really are no stakes or consequences involved. And the NFL has elected to put Packers Vikings in that slot. And obviously that makes sense, right? The Packers and Vikings are both competing for something and the Vikings are trying to win the NFC North. It just makes sense. And that's just where the Cowboys are at. So we can understand all of these things simultaneously. I think we can all handle these balls all being in the air at the same time. So if you are someone who's enjoying this, by all means, soak it up. I talk all the time about the emotions that are associated with this and the memories that we create and, the things that we love to kind of remember about, this time of year. Consider that this little streak, this little stretch, this span, whatever you want to call it for the Cowboys, began the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Okay. Tomorrow, Tuesday, is Christmas Eve. Wednesday is Christmas Day. And the Cowboys have lost one time since then. Once. I mean, our Thanksgiving and Christmas, generally speaking, from the Dallas Cowboys. I know that how they got there was very troubling and deserves a full lot forming as it has been going on. I don't know. It's funny, as I said the word autopsy, my connection buffered for a second. That was very spooky. It's Thanksgiving and Christmas, not Halloween. So hopefully that turns out all right when we finish this video. That was really funny. My overall point here is it's okay to enjoy this. It's okay to be mad about it if you want. I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea, but if you want to be that way, that's up to you. And I don't have a problem with it. The whole point here is for us to agree that we want the same thing. And yes, we want the team, to take measured steps towards achieving that same thing. And I think that you can make an argument that they're doing that now. You can make an argument that they should be doing it a different way. But ultimately, I think that, this is cool. And that's kind of my general point for day after thought number 1. Day after thought number 2 involves a little bit of crow for me. Mike Zimmer has proven that he still has it. Now, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but I'm saying that I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, which, kind of takes away the fact that I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. At the time of the Super Bowl last year, I was doing morning radio in San Antonio. And something we talked about a lot, myself and Rob Thompson, great friend of mine, my co-host on the show, is filling in for, was the Mike Zimmer report, right? And I killed the Cowboys. I did it here as well. We put a lot of the episodes on our podcast network at the time, and I did not hold back. And I stand by my assumption that the Cowboys did not want to turn over every stone to fix the defensive coordinator situation. And you say fix, it wasn't a problem that they created. Dan Quinn left. Dan Quinn got a job, and he picked the right one, clearly, with how Washington's playing. And good luck to Dan, obviously. But it seemed like the Cowboys just said, you know what, let's just call Zim. We know him, we like him. It's just, let's just do that. It didn't seem like they really did much. And maybe they did. Maybe my assumption is incorrect. I'm not above admitting to you that it was an assumption then, and it remains an assumption now. I cannot support it with fact. Okay. But it seemed like that, right? And so if my assumption is correct, I maintain that the process of how we got here was broken, and it was very Cowboys-esque, and that they didn't really want to do any work. They just did the easy, low-hanging fruit thing. The results don't justify the process, to be very clear here, right? The process was still very broken. It's kind of like how they wound up with Dak Prescott. Remember, they obviously wanted Paxton Lynch, and they wanted Connor Cook, and ultimately landed Dak Prescott. And so that process wasn't great. Right? It's just the results worked out wonderfully. I don't mean to light the Dak Prescott discussions on fire, but that being said, holy crap, dude, Mike Zimmer's on fire. I mean, Mike Zimmer is really, really cooking right now. The Cowboys have forced a turnover, in 8 consecutive games. That hadn't happened since 2018. Shout out Chris Richard and his cleats and everything. I mean, the Cowboys this season have 6 games. To be clear, they have played in 15. In 6 games, they have had multiple turnovers and 4 sacks. Think about that for a second. On 6 different occasions, the Cowboys have had 4 sacks as a defense and forced multiple turnovers in the game in question. And this has happened in a season where DeMarcus Lawrence has basically missed all of it. Micah Parsons missed a large chunk. Deron Bland missed a huge chunk. Trayvon Diggs, I know we've beleaguered this point a lot, but it matters and it's significant. And I think that more than anything, this speaks to the talent that's on the Cowboys defense. And I don't mean to take anything away from Mike Zimmer, and I certainly don't mean to take anything away from Dan Quinn, but they have had I don't want to call it good fortune, but they've been able to capitalize on a really legitimate crop of talent that the Cowboys have on the defensive side of the ball. And it's not just the superstars. Marius Liu-Fau has now forced a fumble in consecutive games for the Cowboys. By the way, of the last 6 players who forced a fumble in back-to-back games during their rookie season, 3 of them are members of the Dallas Cowboys, or were members of the Cowboys at the time. They still are actively. It's Marius Liu-Fau currently, Damone Clark in 2018, and Micah Parsons, of course, in 2020. Not 2018 for Damone Clark. You know my point. My point, generally, is that the Cowboys are getting elite play because they have elite groceries to work with, and they have elite play callers working with things on the defensive side of the ball. And Mike Zimmer deserves props. And I have advocated for Mike McCarthy to return to the Cowboys in 2025. I wouldn't, stand up the tallest I've ever stood about anything for that particular thing, but I think that that's the decision that makes the most sense. And I think that if you're going to do that, if you're going to run this thing back, I think that Mike Zimmer has to be a part of it. I really do. I think that Mike Zimmer has earned his keep. I think he's proven to be somebody who knows what he's doing. My assumption that wasn't Cowboys at all, but my incorrect assumption, I will say this was wrong, was that Mike Zimmer was too detached from the game. He hadn't been around long enough, and everything he was going to do was going to be old school, archaic, and it wasn't going to be up to date with the modern trends of the current game. Because even if you're out of the NFL for 5 minutes, we have learned that can be long enough to make you kind of not know what you're doing anymore. And so I was wrong. Mike Zimmer is legit. And if you're going to do this again with this group, he has to be a part of it. So Mike Zimmer, congratulations. You proved me wrong. I maintain that the process was broken, which really ultimately leads me into my day after thought number 3. And it's pretty simple here. The most important thing now is to learn from 2024. There are a lot of people who believe that the winning the Cowboys are doing is, working against the best goal or the overall goal with regards to the best possible draft pick you can have, right? You can understand how some people feel this way. We talked about that a little while ago. That's not the part that I'm concerned about. If I have a concern about the Cowboys winning, it has nothing to do with draft position. If I have a concern about the Cowboys winning, it's that the front office is going to look at what they're doing and say, we're doing it right. This is working. We were right all along. No, man, the results do not justify the process. We can sit here forever, and I'm not going to go into it because we've already done it too many times, and we're going to have to do it a little bit longer because we're going to have to do the autopsy that I talked about. Hopefully my connection doesn't freak out this time. The front office, I mean, I would almost go as far as saying sabotaged this team. I mean, the way they acted, the way they behaved, the amount of gaslighting that they did almost on a weekly basis throughout the entire offseason, the inactivity in free agency, the delaying of extensions for CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. Even now, just a week ago, Stephen Jones coming out saying, I don't know, man, saying what he did about how they're potentially not going to be active in free agency. You've got to do your jobs. This is Jim Halpert talking to Michael Scott out at Jim's desk. You can't just sit there. You've got to do some work. You have to be an actual tried and true legitimate NFL front office. To be very clear, if the Cowboys start acting like grown-ups, it doesn't exonerate the way they behaved in 2024. They set this year on fire. It didn't always have to be this way. And sure, the injuries obviously have exacerbated the issue. And for what it's worth, there's a lot of national conversation now. We see it throughout the games and the broadcast that, oh man, this team's been, plagued by injuries. That's true. But this team was broken before any injury occurred, even before they arrived, obviously, in Oxnard at training camp. This team was built incorrectly. And the lesson has to be, you know what? We being the Cowboys front office, we were wrong. We stepped in it. We were arrogant. We should be adult enough to eat some humble pie and say that we're going to be a little bit better at our jobs. We're going to actually try to do, I don't know, the bare minimum. And maybe if it's a particularly sunny day and we're feeling really, bright and sunshiny ourselves, we'll do a little bit more than the bare minimum. Maybe some days we'll do, we'll work a little bit overtime. I don't know, but you have to at this point in time because you have people and players and staff that clearly are able to do this and have such a passion to do it that they're finding a way to thrive in spite of all of the chaos that you put them into. And so the Cowboys we cannot reach April without a Micah Parsons contract extension or a Deron Bland contract extension for that matter. We cannot have the Dallas Cowboys again be the last team to sign an external free agent. All of this has to be something that we learn from, that the front office learns from, or else it was for nothing. And we all, just were pissed off on a weekly basis for absolutely nothing. And I know that that's the general fear for a lot of people. And I don't have any words to say that can, calm that down right now. But that has to be the most important thing, is that even if they move on, if there's a new head coach or whatever the case may be, they have to learn that their way is broken. It's not even an actual way. It's not even something. It's not even anything. It's just literally doing nothing. And so doing nothing has consequences, and you have to realize the consequences of your actions and hopefully learn, adjust, adapt, and grow as a result of them, or else we're going to be even more pissed off than we were this entire offseason. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at RJ Ochoa, TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. Email is RJ.Ochoa at SBNation.com. You can leave a comment down below. I'll do my very best to get to those. Also, the Dallas Cowboys won on Sunday. That makes today Victory Polo Monday. Like I said, in case I do not speak to you between now and then, but we have lots of stuff coming out all across the week. A very Merry Christmas from me and my family to you and yours. Thank you for giving me some of your time, whether it's today, yesterday, every day, all season long. I love you all very much, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas.